Trade Guitars is giving away this Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul to one of you. How to enter? Subscribe to Play and Trade Guitars on YouTube, and we'll give it away when we hit 50,000 subscribers.
Hey, welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where of course we play it and trade it. Today I'm going to be bringing you a buyer's guide on electric guitars from Epiphone. Epiphone is owned by Gibson, of course, and the ever popular Inspired by Gibson line at Epiphone has been regarded as having top-notch quality. They've done a great job redesigning these guitars and offering Gibson counterparts at affordable prices. There's a lot of great options, and surprisingly, there's a lot of production Epiphone models out there, probably over 100. So I'm going to break it down in this buyer's guide by 3 price tiers. We're going to look at the under $500 market from Epiphone, the $500 to $1,000, and then take a look at those models that push over $1,000, believe it or not now, from Epiphone, and a few that I think will really surprise you, so stay tuned to the end. Before I get started, remember that if you're in the market for any new gear, please use our purchase link because it supports our channel directly when you buy using our link. We've teamed up with Zounds to make that super easy. They offer fast free shipping and no credit payment plans that make buying new gear super easy. With that said, let's get to work. Most of this video is going to cover the Inspired by Gibson line. But before I do that, I want to talk about a couple categories that really set Epiphone apart from the rest and are unique to them, especially if you're just starting out playing. That's going to be the player packs. There's 4 different electric guitar player packs that you can choose from. There's a Melody Maker, there's a Slash kit, which is pretty cool with an amp and the Appetite Amber / Les Paul. There's the Billy Joe Armstrong player pack, which I think is really cool that Zach and I got to play. You can check out that video. And then there's a standard Les Paul player pack. These 4 range in price from $199 up to $399 for the Billy Joe Armstrong Players Pack. All of them offer a great value and great way to get into playing right away with all the accessories, amp, cable, everything you need. I also want to stress that if you're new to guitars, welcome, and that's a great place to start. But if you're a professional, you've probably already taken notice that there's a lot of great options from Epiphone for professional players as well, and that's what we're going to dive into when we get to the Inspired by Gibson line. One more thing that sets Epiphone apart even from Gibson, and that is archtops. If you watched our Gibson guide, I told you about all the different models that were in production, but there's one thing noticeably missing from Gibson's production, and that is true archtops. Epiphone is the only game in town in the Gibson brand family that has true archtops at affordable prices. You're going to have artist models like the Joe Pass, the Wildcat at $499, the Uptown Cat at $649, and the very cool Swingster at $799. The finishes on those are out of this world, and they play really well. Zach and I actually got to play those at the Gibson Garage. Fantastic guitars. Check those out because those are really, truly unique to Epiphone. And something cool about Epiphone is that they started making guitars in 1928 and they specialized in archtops. Gibson bought them in 1957, and nowadays, of course, we kind of think of them as the sister brand to Gibson, making budget level guitars. But Epiphone has a long history going all the way back to the 1800s. Eventually, his son comes in and takes over the business in New York. And his name, which I'll probably butcher, is Epaminondas, which shortened to Epi. And Epiphone is the guitars which have been made famous by Epiphone since the late 1920s. So the archtops truly set Epiphone apart and are very cool. There's a few other honorable mentions here that are really worth checking out too, and that's going to be models like the Wilshire, the Crestwood, and the Coronet. Check those out. They're super cool and range in price from $499 to $599, super affordable. Also a passing mention to bass, because if you want the Paul McCartney inspired violin bass, you can get it for $449, which is just awesome. So check that out. With that said, let's get to work on the mainline brand, the Inspired by Gibson line at those 3 price tiers, under $500, $500 to $1,000, and $1,000 and over. As I told you in my Gibson buyer's guide, Gibson has made it pretty streamlined and easy today with 3 collections. That's going to be the original collection, the modern collection, and the artist collection. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. And they have mirrored production with Epiphone in the Inspired by Gibson line. So you will also find the original, the modern, and the artist lines. And I'm going to break it down really by price tier, like I said. And what I'm going to do is focus on probably the shapes available at each price. So we're talking Les Paul, SG, ES, their designer collection, which also includes the Flying V, the Explorer, and a big one, the Firebird, because it's hard to find Gibson making any Firebirds these days, but it does exist at Epiphone. and then some other cool artist packages and things that I'll tell you about as we go. Another thing as you shop, focus not just on the shape of the guitar you want, but ask yourself, what kind of neck feel do you want? Do you want a chunkier 50 style neck or a 60 style neck? That'll be important and usually identifiable in the name of the guitar. And the other big one is what type of humbucker or P90 pickup do you want? Humbucker and P90s have a distinct different sound. You can check out our head-to-head comparison of humbuckers and P90s on Les Pauls, and you can figure out which one you might like. I think Epiphone steals the show in terms of affordability and some of the P90 options that they offer. It's just totally awesome. So let's dive in with the under $500 category. So when we're looking under 500, there's actually a trio of Les Pauls that come in under 300, and these are really cool guitars. They'll actually have bolt-on necks instead of set necks. This is going to be the Les Paul Special 2, the Studio E1, and the Les Paul 100. These are going to have thinner mahogany bodies, no maple cap, and a bolt-on neck, but are great ways to get started with a Les Paul, and they typically play and sound fantastic. Another great value is you can actually get the Slash Appetite Amber Les Paul as a standalone guitar or as part of a player pack for $329, which I think is a great deal. And when we bump up to the top of this under $500 range, a couple standouts definitely worth mentioning. That's the Les Paul Classic at anywhere from $449 up to $549 for a gloss finish. Or one of my favorites from all the Les Pauls that I played in the whole lineup is the Les Paul Studio. It comes in a beautiful Arctic white, and it was one of my favorite Les Pauls. You can pick that up for $499. If you prefer the sound of a P90 or a single coil pickup, a couple that really steal the show here are going to be the Les Paul Special with 2 P90s. It comes in TV yellow and it runs $449. There's also a Les Paul Junior with a single dog ear P90 in bridge position, and that comes in at $429. I think both of those are absolute steals for what you're getting, especially because in the mainline Gibson lines, you can't find anything with a P90 anymore for under $1599. So at under $500 to get a TV yellow Les Paul Special or that really cool Les Paul Junior, I think is an absolute steal, and I can't recommend a pair of those enough. When we look at SGs under $500, a couple great options. You have a more modern SG Muse that's gonna run $479, really cool finishes and modern features. If you're looking for more of the traditional route, you could do the SG Standard at $499. That's kind of the counterpart to the Les Paul Studio that I was just telling you about. Another pair of great P90 options if you prefer SG, they're gonna have an SG Special and an SG Classic, $429 and $449, super affordable. The SG Special P90 in the sparkling burgundy is a particular standout because it looks fantastic, and it's $449 with the 2 P90s and that burgundy finish. If you're looking for an ES, there's not going to be any available under $500, but why don't we step it up to $500 to $1,000, and I'll tell you about all the great options here. We'll kick off that category with a look at the ES, and this really blew me away, blew Zach away too. The 335 that Epiphone is currently producing at a price of $599 for the dot or the $699 for the figured top with the block inlays is out of this world good. And considering how expensive a Gibson ES335 is, I think that this Epiphone ES335 could be considered a must-own guitar if it's in your price range. There's also the smaller bodied 339 for $549, and then a couple cool artist models. There's the Noel Gallagher Riviera at $899, the BB King Lucille at $949, and the Emily Wolf Sheridan Stealth at $899. Super cool options there for the ES as well. I'll get back to Les Pauls and SGs in this category, but a big shout out to the designer collection, which includes the Flying V Explorer and the Firebird, which is one of my favorite guitars. It's gonna be like a Firebird 5 with the reverse headstock, and you can take your pick of any of those in the original collection for $649, which is crazy affordable. Great prices for those. If you want something more modern in those designs, you can get the Brendan Small Ghost Horse Explorer, which is pretty awesome. You can also check out the Prophecy Flying V and what they're calling the Extura, which is like an Explorer with that crazy Prophecy finish and features. And both of those will come in at $899. All right, let's break down Les Pauls in the $500 to $1,000 range. I'll give you a list of the original and then the modern with humbuckers, and then we'll talk P90 options. A few big standouts here. Remember to focus on the neck shape, and it's usually made easy by the name. Well, we kick it off with the Les Paul Standard 50s and the Les Paul Standard 60s, both indicating the thicker 50s neck or the skinnier slim taper 60s neck. Both super affordable at $649. And then one of the best deals out there is the Les Paul Custom in that beautiful Arctic white finish. And that's gonna come in at $729, which is an amazing deal. You can also compare that to the Jerry Cantrell Wino Les Paul Custom, which comes in at $849. Something really cool now is a collaboration with the Gibson Custom Shop to create one of the best models that we've ever seen come out of Epiphone. And that is the 1959 Les Paul Standard. It's gonna come with a hard shell case. It's gonna come with true Gibson Burstbucker pickups. It's a fantastic deal at $899. If you want one really different at that range that looks great, the sparkling blue Thayer Les Paul at $899. Moving into the more modern side of Les Pauls in this price category, you're gonna have the Les Paul Classic in a gloss finish at $549, which is a great deal. It's also gonna have the push-pull technology that's directly comparable to another model, the Les Paul Modern at $649, or you can get the Les Paul Modern figured top at $699. Another good modern option, especially if you play heavy, is going to be the Les Paul Prophecy. That's going to be a little more expensive at $899, although they recently had a price cut on many of the finishes down to $699. And that's going to have the Fishman Fluence pickups, which really set it apart, in 24 frets. The other major seller, probably the top seller in the $500 to $1,000 range, is that Slash line of Les Pauls from Epiphone. Fairly recent addition to the line, but those take us to the top at $999. Honorable mentions to two other, not quite Les Pauls, but pretty cool guitars. You have the Nancy Wilson Fanatic at $579 and the Joan Jett Olympic Special at $549. Two awesome P90 options is the Jared James Nichols Gold Glory, single dog ear P90 in bridge position, gold top, super cool guitar that we've gotten to play. Jared's a great guy, I've gotten to meet him as well. That's gonna come in at $749. And then one of my favorite lookers and players for its simplicity that I really like too, if you're looking for a single P90, is the Billy Joe Armstrong Les Paul Jr. Beautiful white with that cheetah case, and it's got that single P90 in bridge as well. Both of these make great P90 options in this price range. All right, for an SG in the same price category, we kick it off at $549 with what they're now calling the SG Standard 60s. That used to be called the SG Standard 61, but there's a newer model at $899, which has arguably better features, called the 1961 SG Standard that many of you have taken notice of. Both of those make good options. Probably the SG Standard 1961 with the case and Gibson Burstbuckers is probably the best value, because if you tried to recreate that buying the Gibson SG 60s, you'd end up spending more money than if you just bought the 1961 SG Standard outright. If you're looking for the cool look and sound of a Maestro Vibrola, it's hard to beat for $599, the SG Standard Maestro Vibrola. And for a couple modern options here, you could look at the SG Modern, which comes in at $599 with some nice modern features, or the SG Prophecy, part of the Prophecy lineup, at $899. A single P90 option if you want an SG with P90s, very cool. The Tony Iommi SG is going to sport two P90s, and that's going to push us to the top of this range at $999. All right, you've still got money to spend. Did you know that Epiphone makes guitars that are more than $1,000? Well, they do, and the ones that are in production are the super popular Joe Bonamassa 1962 ES335 at $1299 with the hard shell case. Comparing that to a Gibson 335, we played one, it sounded and felt fantastic. So $1299 is maybe a lot for an Epiphone, but I think it's all starting to bump up, and what you're getting for the money is still, I think, a great value. The other one that everyone is super excited about, including us, is the partnership with Adam Jones, continues with Epiphone and the Les Paul Custom Artist Collection. We showed you the Valabes, and stay tuned because very soon there's going to be a rollout of the rest of those 6 remaining guitars from that collaboration between Adam Jones and Epiphone. Those Les Paul Customs come in at $1299 with the hard shell case. And don't forget how cool that case is. It's inspired after the old chainsaw cases from Gibson and is called the Protector. Super cool case too. Rounding out our look of guitars over $1,000 from Epiphone is going to be the Jerry Cantrell Prophecy, which has really cool inlays, white finish. That's going to come in at $1149. And then if you are into metal and you like Matt Hefe, you have 2 options here. At $1099, you get the Les Paul Custom Origins. And then really cool, for $11.99, you get the 7-string version, which really might be worth checking out. That rounds out our look of the over 1,000 category from Epiphone. However, there's actually more, and it might blow you away to learn the price of the remaining models. So here we go. How do you get an Epiphone more expensive than $12.99 nowadays? Well, you have it made in America. And Gibson USA is making the Made in the USA collection and Bozeman, Montana, because we have a trio of guitars that will kind of surprise you when you hear the price. First, let's look at the electric. The Casino USA comes in at $32.99. Yes, you heard that right. $3,299 for the Epiphone Casino made by Gibson USA. And if you're in the market for an acoustic, you can pick up the Texan, which looks really sharp, but it's gonna run you $2,849. And then, here it is, the moment we've been waiting for. The all-time most expensive Epiphone currently in production is going to be the acoustic Frontier at $3,999, sporting Epiphone on the headstock. Yes, you heard that right. The three of these guitars at the highest price range are probably not as relevant to your search if you're really looking at what's available from Epiphone, but that is a new thing that Epiphone is doing with Gibson, is starting to build higher end models in the much higher price point. Even the Casino at $32.99, I mean, you can get a Gibson 335 for less than that. So that's really pushing prices up there on that and in the Made in USA collection. So this has been my look at all the various models available from Epiphone, really with a focus on electric guitars, of course. Drop a comment and let me know, did I miss any? Do you have one that you wish they would bring back in production? And which one will you buy next? I think Epiphone is doing a fantastic job in collaboration with Gibson on the Inspired by Gibson line. It's making it real simple, and you can see the company's strategy of making something at a higher price point through Gibson, but then offering a very comparable experience and guitar at a much more affordable price point from Epiphone made overseas. Great guitars. Zach and I have gotten to play a lot of those. A lot of them are professional quality and ready for the gig. Drop a comment, let us know what you think of all these. Let us know what you'll buy next, and stay tuned for the next demo, because we'll keep bringing you demos from the best brands. And when you're ready to buy, consider using our purchase link. Supports us directly, and don't miss out on that giveaway. We're growing fast, and I can't wait to give away that Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul when we hit 50,000 subscribers. Talk to you in the comments. See you on the next video. Take care. See you soon.